I'm going to move forward now to introduce David Wood. He's last but not least, as we've been teasing him. Okay, wildlife, does it need our help? Of course it does. By understanding what we can do to support nature, we are creating a better urban environment for ourselves. David Wood, he understands this, and he's going to share his knowledge. Let me tell you a bit about him first. David Wood opened his store Wild Birds Unlimited in Burlington 4 years before retiring from Stelco. Always a lover of the natural world, David takes part in bird counts and has traveled extensively through North America and Africa. David enjoys presenting research-based information from Bird Studies Canada about the importance of feeding the birds year-round, he recommends, and how to maintain those feeders with the right seed blends and in the appropriate feeders for the birds. I'm going to turn it over to you now, David. Enjoy yourself.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's been a very interesting morning and shows the importance of helping out nature to the best that we possibly can and making you more aware of what's going on. One of the things that I want to try to take and make you aware of the importance of taking and feeding the birds year-round, and not what all these other people take and come back and tell you to stop in March and April. The first natural food doesn't take and come on until the end of June, which is the grass seeds. The birds are migrating back. They've lost a lot of weight. They're starting to molt. Their feathers are 98% protein, so need a good, proper diet. That's why we get so many at our feeders during the spring. As they migrate in, they're getting prepared to take and have their young ones. And then throughout May and June and July, and even into August, they have their young ones, and they need a proper protein diet. Protein seeds generally are in September. And the reason for that is that they are the food for the birds during the winter to keep them warm, because they need a high protein diet to be able to take and produce the heat energy to keep them from hypothermia. What I want to basically show you is the fact that when you go out to buy seed, you need to know what you're buying and what type of feeder you have to have it in. So many people have mounds of seed below their feeders. This is taking and telling me that you're not using the proper seed for the birds that are in your area, and also the fact that you may not be taking and using the proper feeder because you don't understand what the birds do when they come in to feed. So what I'm basically going to start out with is just go through the seeds. This seed blend here, it has a lot of small seed. Only 20% of that seed is going to be eaten in a feeder like this one here, okay? Or this feeder here, which is the squirrel food feeder. They're going to throw it out onto the ground, so you're going to end with a massive amount of seed on the ground. If you don't clean that seed up on a daily basis or at least a weekly basis, it's going to get wet, it's going to go moldy. If it goes moldy, the birds eat it. They can end up taking and getting a liver disorder. They can also pick up salmonella bacteria from bird droppings that come from other birds, because certain species of birds, if their immune system breaks down, they expel it from their bird droppings. So any of that seed that's on the ground should be picked up, put into the garbage, and dispersed. Don't put it into a compost. The reason why is that when it decomposes, it neutralizes that compost, and you won't get anything to grow in it. Also, you've got to watch your dogs. Your dog, if you have a dog and it's outside and it eats the seed, it can end up with dangerously gastric problems, and they can die as a result of it. So that's one of the reasons for getting a control on what's going on. Also, it draws skunks in, draws rodents in, raccoons, everything. So what I'm going to explain is that a feeder such as this one here with high sides, there are fly-through feeders. That seed that I showed you with lots of small seed, and that's what you're getting at Canadian Tire, Home Depot, Costco, Walmart. It's wild bird seed. They don't tell you that it's a ground feeding mix mainly. And what the birds do, they go into it and they're searching for the larger seed because there's just as much work almost in opening a large seed as it is in all the small seeds. And they're seeds because they want that seed at a certain price. The people will take and put things that the birds don't even eat, but it grows beautifully in your garden. So what I'm trying to bring forward to people is that there are seeds out there that you can grow your gardens, have beautiful gardens, not have to worry about things coming up in it. And it's called a no-mess blend, which is basically black sunflower, which you all know that you could almost put that out and most of the birds will take and eat it. You can see, and our black sunflower is 98% clean of all shaving stuff like that. We bring it in special so that we have a high quality for you. But what we're talking about is hulled sunflower, hulled millet. This is in a no-mess blend. Or you can just take and get the medium or the coarse hulled sunflower. All the bird species that come to your feeders will take and eat it. So it gives you the widest variety. One 20-pound bag of it is equal to three 20-pound bags of seeds with shells on. So you can see it's more expensive, but in turn it's not, because you're getting all food and no waste. And the shell of black sunflowers in that can take 2 or 3 years to decompose. And as I say, what you got to really watch is at sterilizing your soil. If you have a patio deck that is wood, you have to watch shells because they have a natural oil in them. And when you go out and walk when it's after a rain, it becomes almost like an ice rink. With the chipped sunflower, you don't have that. Everything is totally eaten. And with the few squirrels that you may have around and the chipmunks, they will clean that up on a day-to-day basis. So at the end of the day, you don't have anything below your feeder going into the evening. That's what we want to achieve. Some of the other seeds that the birds will take and eat is white millet. It's been found that white millet in this area is eaten more by the birds than the red millet. The red millet is not one that's eaten readily here, so that's one that's going to be thrown out and put onto the ground. People hear about safflower. Safflower is a white seed like this, and it's a bitter taste to the starling and grackle. It used to be used as a deterrent. If you're going to use it as a deterrent, then go 50% of safflower, 50% of your present mix for 5 days. If the starlings and grackles still come, then take it up to 75%. And at 75%, it should take and stop the starlings and grackles. If you're going to use it as a cardinal mix, you can go 50% that and 50% either coarse sunflower, or you can use the black sunflower with the shell, but you're going to have the shells below your feeder, in which you need to take and clean up. Niger. Niger is used in this type of feeder here. It has small holes. This feeder here has a quick release bottom. Reason for it, in the spring and fall, when you have the warm days and the very cool nights, the moisture inside the tube condenses and goes down to the bottom, and that's what makes your seed wet. If you don't detect it, soon you will have mold forming in it from the sun. And if it gets bad enough that it's solid form, you may have the goldfinches suddenly stop feeding. So if that's happening to you, tip your feeder sideways, see if you got the clumping. If so, clean it out, use a 5% Javix water, sterilize it, and refill it. So every time you go to take and fill, if you don't have a quick release bottom, then you tip it slightly, see if you've got any clumping in the bottom. If so, remove all the seed and put fresh seed in. With this, you take it off. Take your wet seed out. Make sure you hold this end, tip it, fill the feeder up, put this back on. And if you watch goldfinches, they normally come to the top quart first. So all of the older seed is being eaten as they move down to the bottom to take the feed off the fresh seed. So you get away from the mold and end up with healthier birds. There's also peanuts. Peanuts. People ask, how do I get blue jays? Peanuts in the shell is one that the blue jays are always hunting for because they can take it and hide it. This is a very good feeder. You just take and put it in here and the blue jays will come. The squirrels don't like going to it as much because it's like a slinky and they're afraid of pinching their feet. If you use peanut halves, like these here, okay, they go in a feeder like this. We've now made this one a quick release bottom so that you can clean it out very readily if it gets damp or moist to get away from any mold. That will help to take and draw the nuthatches, chickadees. Cardinal goes to it periodically, and a variety of other birds, and also your blue jay will go. All your woodpeckers will go. And in this area now, your main ones are going to be your chickadees, your nuthatch. Some areas have got the big pileated. There's also the red-bellied woodpecker has now moved into the Burlington area, Oakville area, and they're increasing in number over the last 3 to 4 years. So keep an eye out for him. He's got more red on his head. And they are beautiful to have. They will take and come on a regular basis. We do take and have suet in containers, and there's different types of suet that you can put out. They go into a feeder like this or like this. The reason for this part on the bottom is the tail prop for their tail to take and rest against while they're taking and eating. Watch on the surfaces of this and this. If you buy cheap suet, it will melt at a low temperature level. Ours is good up to 90 degrees, and then we do have a suet dough for extreme warm weather during the summer. This here, if their breast goes up against it when they're taking and eating, and it's heavy with suet, it gets onto their feathers, they can't wash it off with soap and water. So when it comes to winter, they can have problems getting their down to fluff up. So really watch on the housekeeping of these. We have other ways that you can take and feed them too. We do have cylinders, all different types. We even have dried mealworms in them. And we now have a hybrid safflower, which is a soft-shelled one, and more birds can take and break the shell. The safflower is one of the hardest shells in the seeds for the birds, and that's why you have a limited of number that will come just to a solid safflower feeder. So watch on that. We have squirrel-proof feeders now. Okay, they're like this. Squirrel gets on and it closes. I showed you earlier a larger version of it, which is this one here. It's called the Eliminator. You can adjust the tension in this one. The other one has preset, and it will go up to a cardinal. And you notice the size of the perch ring here. It's longer out than this feeder here. If you have this type of feeder, you got to put a tray on it so that the cardinal will take and come in and feed out of it. Because the larger birds can't get on these perches to be able to take the food out. And people don't realize. Our tube feeder also has a quick release bottom for taking cleaning, but you don't fill it from the bottom, you fill it from the top because of the design of the ports. Now, with the seeds out, if you're buying a finch mix, buy a bit more of Niger and add it to it. You will draw a few more goldfinches to it. Goldfinches primarily like the Niger. It goes into the same feeder as this. If you put it into with the large port, you're going to lose far more out. And also, if you ever pour the Niger in, because it's a very small and light seed, it will blow out and make a mess below your feeder. As we take a move through on, some people may want to take and go with the traditional. Okay, what we've done, we've now got removable trays. Like this, you bring it in, wash it, and put it out. Your housekeeping of your feeders is important. At least once a month at the least, take and clean your feeders. If they start getting gummy and gooey, you can use spray 9 and take that greasy stuff off and then flush it with good hot water, and you may even use a bit of 5% Javex for just the final sterilizing. All of our stuff that is painted all pretty well has some silver put into it to help to take and cut down on the possibility of bacteria building up on it. Now we have the one bird, well, the two birds that have just arrived is your Oriole. Okay, this is the newest of feeders out, this style. Okay, it opens up very easy, won't drip in high winds. And on the ends here, we have these little pieces, and they fit over the ports for the suet or for the nectar. You use the same as what you would use for a hummingbird, 4-to-1 ratio of sugar and water. Just put water in, mix the sugar until it totally dissolves. You can put it into a container and store it in the fridge and fill it up again later. You notice the little sockets in here. You can take and use grape jelly like this and put that in on a regular basis, and the Orioles love it. You can also put an orange half in the spring. You can try it out, but once you find that they stop taking and eating it, because they use it as a substance to build up their weight, and that's why they take and eat it in the spring. And once they've achieved that, quite often they'll just go to the nectar and the jelly. Now, we've had a late arrival of Orioles, or not Orioles, of hummingbirds. Some of them have arrived. I'm hoping this weekend. I'm watching my feeders to see if the main flock, but I'm a bit concerned. We had a very cold 2 weeks of weather leading it into their migration into the area, and whether or not they ended up getting hyperthermia, and we may have lost them. We'll know by the end of this week. If we don't get any more hummingbirds showing up, we're not likely to take and have any more than what we've got right now. We have 2 sizes. We have 4 sizes. This is the smallest one we have. So it will hold enough that it may take one hummingbird almost a week to take and feed on this. This is a large one. It's got 6 ports. So you may get 2 hummingbirds ruby-throated on these at a time, along with our medium one, which has 4 ports. But any of the 3-port ones, you'll generally only see one because the male dominates the feeder on being able to come. You want them really up close, and here's a window feeder. It has suction cups that go onto the window. Don't put water on the suction cups. Put a drop of vegetable oil, rub it, stick it on, wait about 30 seconds, press it again, then put this unit onto it. We do have in our store, I had an opportunity. This is the seed that the birds eat all the time out in nature, that the trees produce. There's 21 species of trees, the seeds in this. I was able to get a sample of it from the Ontario government. Forestry sold off a bunch of seed because they had an abundance and didn't do the planting that they were last year. So I got about 100 bags, and I think I've got about 25 or 30 left in the store. And people are able to put it out and just see what the birds do take and eat in their particular area. The Canadian Wildlife Federation, if you go onto their internet, you can get your backyards certified, and it falls in line in all the things that we've discussed this year on getting our backyards set up the way that they should be. Having water, having seed, having protection for the birds from weather and stuff like that, and planting plants that they can actually get food from. So you can get your yard. I have at least 6 customers that have called me this spring that they finally got their certified and got their plaque and everything up, and people are asking about it. It's important and enjoyment to take and watch the birds. Because of this pandemic, a lot of people are at home and looking out into their backyards. And with the birds, you're able to see the enjoyment of the different things that change with them every day. So don't be afraid to take and get it set up and make the enjoyment, because being close to nature, you learn a lot of stuff. And with that, I will change over, and if you have any questions, I think there's 3 questions that can be put in that I can take and answer, hopefully. So have a very good day and a good summer. Thank you.
Thank you, David. If anyone else has additional questions for the chat box, I'll monitor that while I'm asking what I'm about to ask David right now. As far as the orioles go, understand about the nectar and the grape jelly and so on. What sustains them through the summer? Sometimes we've had orioles come around in the spring, but then leave after they've had their grape jelly and nectar and orange slices, and it seems unfair.
What happens is that, like all birds, they will bring their young ones sometimes to the feeder before taking them out into nature to teach them the natural food. From about the start of July, you will very seldom take your oriole at the feeder until near the end of August. They're the earliest migrating south of our birds that we have in the area. So they leave right around the end of August, first week of September. And they're just taking and teaching the young ones on the natural food. And something that a lot of people don't realize, the birds come to our feeders. We supplement what they can't get in nature throughout the year. So when you don't have a lot of snow in the fall, they got a lot of protein because that's the natural harvest time. So that's why you don't see a lot in October, November. If we get early snows, then you've got them at the feeders because the natural food's all covered over.
But thank you. So the feed that we're giving them right now to attract them, nectar, orange slices, grape jelly, that will be enough to encourage them to nest?
They'll be taking a nesting anyways. They eat insects to get the protein. So they do eat other than that.
Do you have resource books, resource information that someone could look up? What have you got there that you think is a good resource for people?
This is our newest book, and it covers everything that I just discussed.
Okay, and what is the title of that?
And the title of that is For the Birds, and it was produced by our franchise.
Okay, it's produced by Wild Birds Unlimited then?
Yes.
Okay, For the Birds by Wild Birds Unlimited. We'll make sure that goes in our resource list then. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to check.
And if anybody has any further questions, just go email to wbu1@bellnet.ca, and I'll be more than pleased to take and answer your questions back to you.
I'm going to repeat that. I think you said wbu1@bellnet.ca.
.ca, yes.
Good. Thank you so much.
And for all the people that watch this, if you do take and go to place any orders at the store up to the end of June, your first order in, we will give you 20% off of what that order is up to the end of June.
Thank you. Joanne, if you can unmute. Okay, Joanne's unmuted. Wait on Joanne.
Okay. Thank you so much, David. That was amazing. Even though I love birds and my whole backyard's full of feeders and the church is all full of feeders, I still learn a lot more from you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I want to thank you for your energy and your knowledge that you bring in protecting our birds in our Carolinian habitat. By following your lead, we are ready to embrace wildlife by doing what must be done. So I'm now going into the closing. Linda has reminded you to stay if you're interested in more information on our websites from Ron McAllister. But other than that, I'm going to say this is now the closing of our virtual spring conference, May 23rd, 2020. I want to thank all the participants that braved getting in with frustrations, but you are all here, and I know you are very interested in what has happened today. But now it's your turn. It's your turn to do what must be done. Our urban plots, living spaces of all sizes open up the potential, as you have heard, to increase habitat for urban wildlife, plus bring a wealth of benefits to humans. So let's try doing what must be done. Let's create a green Carolinian native corridor across our urban cities. Let's use ecologically sound biotics to create a healthy coexistence for wildlife and humanity. Let's start today doing what must be done.
Oh, well, I learned as a child there's two ways to see the world as it is and the way it could be. Now, some people say that's just not my problem. Some people do what must be done. Though they see the hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the way blockaded and they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Yes, some people do what must be done. Well, they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done.